Despite delivering the company's highest-rated product launch, I was let go. "You're too attached to legacy processes," the innovation lead said. Effective immediately, David McRae will no longer be leading the Pulse project. Janet Holloway's. Words hang in the sterile conference room air like suspended particles. Everyone's eyes dart between her and me, measuring the blast radius of what just happened. Laura Denton will be assuming leadership as our new Chief Innovation Officer, with full authority over all product development, including Pulse. We believe this realignment better positions Veltrix for our next growth phase. I sit paralyzed, the boardroom suddenly impossibly bright, the faces around me blurring at the edges. Blood thunders in my ears. "This is effective as of this morning," Janet continues, not meeting my eyes. "David, HR has prepared transition documents in the small conference room. 14 months. 14 fucking months of my life poured into Pulse. Weekends, nights, holidays. My marriage strained to breaking, all to save this company from irrelevance. And now this." I look across at Laura, who offers that plastic corporate smile. Lips, stretched eyes dead, as she shuffles papers importantly. She has no engineering background, not a single patent, nothing built ever. "If there are no questions," Janet begins. Actually, my voice emerges tight, controlled, barely containing the volcanic pressure beneath. "I'd like clarity on why the architect of Veltrix's most successful product launch in 5 years is being removed at the moment of its success." Silence drops like a blade. Mason Clark, CFO, coughs performatively. "David, this isn't a removal. It's a strategic reallocation of talent. Your technical contributions have been noted, like a fucking footnote. The board feels," Janet cuts in, "that Pulse's next evolution needs a more holistic, consumer experience-focused approach." Translation: they want buzzwords and vibes, not the ruthless technical excellence that just saved their stock price. I see. My hands are steady as I gather my notebook, my tablet. "And the patents?" Janet blinks. "Patents?" "The 3 provisional patents filed under my name. The adaptive transmission protocol, the diagnostic algorithm, the energy subsystem." I stand slowly. "Those patents, the ones powering your miracle product." Mason leans forward. "Those were developed on company time." "Actually," I interrupt. "They weren't. Check the filing dates, check the documentation. I filed them personally when legal was too backlogged to do their job." The room temperature seems to drop 10 degrees. Laura's smile falters. Janet's face tightens. Mason frantically flips through his folder. "We can discuss intellectual property concerns separately," Janet says, voice clipped. "For now, please connect. With HR to ensure a smooth transition." I nod once. Precise, mechanical. Inside, a switch flips, from creator to destroyer. "A smooth transition," I echo, picking up my badge. Of course. As I walk out, I hear Laura already talking animatedly about emotional connectivity frameworks and next-generation user journeys. The apartment feels hollow tonight, too big, too quiet. I pour a finger of Lagavulin and carry it to the window overlooking the city lights. 3 years ago, when I joined Veltrix, I'd stare at that skyline, imagining my impact on the future, unfolding below. Naive. So goddamn naive, I'd been headhunted aggressively. 6 meetings, 3 dinners, 1 weekend retreat. They'd been desperate then, sliding from industry darling to cautionary tale in 18 months. Their wearables division was hemorrhaging market share to competitors with stronger technical foundations. They needed someone who could build, not just talk about building. "We need substance, not flash," Janet had said during our final interview. "Someone who can deliver innovation, not just its appearance." I believed her. More fool me. The irony is, I'd turned down stability at Meridian Systems, a guaranteed technical director position, stock options, the works, because Veltrix promised creative freedom. The chance to build something that mattered. Emma had been skeptical. "They're corporate through and through, David," she'd warned, nursing her tea at our kitchen table. "The minute you're no longer useful—" She hadn't finished the sentence. She hadn't needed to, but I'd been determined. Meridian was steady, secure, predictable. Veltrix was where I could make history, so I'd jumped. And for 14 months I'd proven Emma wrong, or thought I had. I take another sip, remembering the countless 3 a.m. sessions hunched over circuit designs, the prototype failures, the breakthrough moments, the fights with procurement to source components that didn't exist in their approved vendor lists, the arguments with finance over R&D expenditures that looked excessive on paper but were necessary for a true breakthrough. Through it all, I'd kept the engineering team focused on what mattered, building something genuine, something that actually improved lives. I remember Kyle Benson's face when we finally got the transmission protocol working, exhausted, red-eyed, but lit from within. Holy shit, Dave. This thing could actually save lives. That's what kept me. Going through the missed dinners, the postponed vacations, the nights I came home to find Emma already asleep, the knowledge that we were building something real. I'd sacrificed so much personal time that when Emma finally left, leaving only a note and half-empty closets, I barely had the bandwidth to process it. Another casualty of Pulse, another cost I'd calculated as necessary. I checked my phone, 3 missed calls from Kyle, 2 from Jen in engineering, a text from Marcus asking if I'm okay, none from Emma. She'd been right all along. I silenced the phone and returned to the window. Tomorrow I'll face the team. Tomorrow I'll start sorting through legal options. Tomorrow I'll begin whatever comes next. But tonight I let myself feel every raw edge of the betrayal, every hollow promise, every sacrifice made for people who saw me as nothing more than a temporary solution to their incompetence. The scotch burns pleasantly as I swallow the last of it. From 14 floors below, the city continues its rhythm, unaware and uncaring of one more corporate backstabbing. I won't make the same mistake again. Merit, I now understand, is just leverage waiting to be applied, and I have more leverage than they realize. I apply for 2-month leave, which gets accepted almost immediately. Not surprising. The next day, I wake early, brew coffee, and set up my personal laptop at the kitchen counter. First order of business, documentation. I meticulously catalog every relevant email, every prototype note, every developmental milestone of Pulse, not Veltrix's sanitized, marketable version, but the raw architecture that gave it life. I work steadily until afternoon, breaking only to refuel. My phone buzzes occasionally. Kyle, Marcus, recruiters already circling. I respond selectively, neutrally. No outbursts, no recriminations, just data gathering. By evening, I've compiled a comprehensive timeline proving the patents are legally mine. I encrypt the files and send them to Jonathan Hale, an IP attorney I've known since college. His response comes within hours. They're exposed on this. Badly. Call me. I don't call immediately. Instead, I spend the next day observing. LinkedIn shows me Laura Denton's triumphant announcement of her promotion. The comments section blooms with false congratulations and strategic networking. Janet reshares it, praising Laura's visionary approach. Veltrix's stock holds steady. The market doesn't understand what's happened yet. I watch Marcus post a carefully worded update about exciting new directions for Pulse. It gets half the engagement of the original launch announcement. On the third day, I create a simple spreadsheet. 2 columns. Left, Veltrix client relationships. Right, my personal relationships within those same companies. By nightfall, the right column has 17 names, decision-makers who know my work directly. People who understand the difference between substance and theater. I don't contact them, not yet. Instead, I meet Jonathan for coffee at a quiet place 3 neighborhoods away from Veltrix's orbit. They'll come after you once they figure it out, he warns, reviewing my documentation. But they're on shaky ground. The patents were filed under your name, not the company's. The development documentation shows critical work done off hours, and their IP assignment clauses are surprisingly weak. How long to formalize my position? 8 weeks, maybe 10. We file for full patent protection immediately. Set up a holding company to manage the IP. Clean, simple, defensible. I nod. Do it. They'll offer to buy you out when they realize, he says, watching me carefully. Could be substantial. I'm not interested in a buyout. No? He sits back. What are you interested in? I consider the question, turning my coffee cup slowly on its saucer. Impact. In week 4, I rent a small office in an unassuming building, downtown. Nothing fancy, just a space with good security and reliable internet. I bring in minimal furniture, a desk, an ergonomic chair, a coffee maker. The whiteboard I install myself. No company name on the door. No announcement, no LinkedIn. Status change. Kyle texts again. Heard anything from legal? Laura's making radical changes to the firmware. Fucking disaster. I respond only, not yet, stay sharp. At night I sketch architectures. Not for Pulse, that's in the past now. Instead I map a new system. Something modular, expansive, built on the principles I'd established but liberated from corporate constraints. I call it Echo. Not because I intend to echo Pulse, but because it's what comes after. Jonathan provides weekly updates. The patents progress smoothly. The holding company, McRae Technologies LLC, exists on paper, buried beneath enough legal structures to provide necessary distance. I make no dramatic moves, no declarations of war, no whistleblowing, nothing that would trigger Veltrix's defenses. Instead, I build, quietly, methodically, stockpiling ammunition for a battle they don't yet know is coming. In week 6, I schedule lunch with Martin Harper of Harper Dynamics, a mid-tier distributor that Veltrix had been stringing along for months. Just catching up, I tell him. Professional courtesy. He agrees immediately. The chess pieces are aligning. I've transformed from creator to strategist, from builder to hunter. Patience is my weapon now. These are substantial, Martin Harper says, eyes widening as he reviews the schematics spread across the private dining room table. He's 50-something, with the weathered look of someone who built his company from scratch rather than inheriting it. You developed all this yourself? The core architecture, yes. I keep my voice casual, sipping sparkling water. After Veltrix, I had time to refine some concepts I'd been considering. And these aren't tied to your former employer? Sharp, cautious. Martin didn't build a $200 million distribution company by stumbling into IP lawsuits. Entirely separate development. My attorney has the documentation if you'd like to review it. Martin studies the energy efficiency curves on the 3rd page, and this outperforms Pulse by 27% on battery life, 43% on data transmission efficiency, a low whistle. No wonder you're keeping this quiet, for, now I agree, I'm selective about potential partners. What I don't tell him, Harper Dynamics is the first of 4 targeted meetings, each company carefully chosen not just for their market position, but for their strained relationship with Veltrix. Companies promised exclusive deals that never materialized, partnerships that went cold when bigger fish swam by. What exactly are you proposing? Martin asks, leaning forward. Early licensing access, co-development opportunities as the architecture expands, favorable terms in exchange for commitment, and exclusivity. I smile slightly. Regional, not global. I'm not interested in replacing one corporate leash with another. Martin's eyes narrow shrewdly. This is about more than business for you. I don't confirm or deny. I don't need to. 3 days later, Harper Dynamics signs the first licensing agreement with McRae Technologies LLC. No press release, no announcements, just paperwork and a substantial wire transfer. 1 week later, I meet with Clearline Ventures. Their CTO recognizes the potential immediately. This will annihilate Veltrix's advantage in the healthcare market, she says, almost reverently tracing the diagnostic pathway flowchart. That's not my primary concern, I lie smoothly. She smiles knowingly. Of course not. They sign the following. Day the pattern repeats with Stratus Network Systems, then Ridgepoint Technologies. Each meeting carefully orchestrated. Each agreement structured for maximum impact with minimum publicity. Meanwhile, I monitor Veltrix from a distance. Their Q1 earnings call reveals troubling signs for those who know where to look. R&D expenditures up 22%, but new patent filings down. Product launch timelines recalibrated. Mundane upgrades repackaged as innovations. Laura Denton features prominently, in the call, speaking passionately about emotion-centered connectivity paradigms and transformative user journeys. Analysts sound increasingly skeptical. The first concrete blow lands in week 12. Harper Dynamics abruptly withdraws from partnership discussions with Veltrix, citing strategic realignment. The news barely makes industry publications, but within Veltrix it's an earthquake. My old contact in procurement forwards an internal email. Urgent vendor alternatives needed. 3 days later, Clearline cancels 2 significant orders, throwing Veltrix's quarterly projections into chaos. I don't gloat. I don't celebrate. I simply note the data points on my tracking document and continue building. The real masterpiece comes in week 14. A niche healthcare publication runs a technical analysis of the latest wearable diagnostics, including pulse. Buried in the detailed specifications, anomalies in the newest firmware update that compromise the device's reliability in high-interference environments, the exact environments where it's most needed, hospitals, emergency services, the killer feature that made Pulse revolutionary. The article doesn't mention that the compromised functionality relies on my patented transmission protocol, the one Veltrix is now legally precarious in using. It doesn't need to. Industry forums explode with speculation. Healthcare clients demand explanations. Veltrix's support team, blindsided, struggles to respond coherently. That afternoon, Kyle texts, "Emergency all-hands meeting. Laura blaming engineering for implementation failures. What did you do?" I don't respond. That night, I stare at the city lights from my apartment window, feeling a cold satisfaction settle in my bones. No dramatic confrontations, no public accusations, just the inexorable pressure of consequences. The dominoes are falling exactly as I calculated, and I'm just getting started. The Bloomberg alert hits my phone at 9:17 a.m. Veltrix Technologies, VLT, shares plunge 14% after major client exits. I check the details while waiting for my coffee to brew. Northstar Medical Systems, Pulse's largest healthcare client, has terminated their deployment contract, citing critical reliability concerns and unacceptable performance inconsistencies. Translation: the firmware changes Laura implemented have catastrophically backfired. My phone buzzes continuously over the next hour. Former colleagues, industry contacts, even a Bloomberg reporter seeking comment as the original architect of Pulse. I respond to none of them. Instead, I forward the news to my 4 partner companies with a simple note: accelerating our timeline, ready when you are. By noon, Veltrix issues a statement. We are addressing isolated technical issues through our standard quality assurance processes. We remain committed to our healthcare partners and the integrity of our products. Empty corporate speak from a sinking ship. At 2:38 p.m., the first call comes. Janet Holloway's name on my screen. I decline it. 3 minutes later, an email. "David, we need to talk urgently. Please call at your earliest convenience. Janet." I archive it without replying. The real fireworks begin at market close. Veltrix's share price settles at 17.6% for the day. CNBC runs a segment questioning the company's product stability. A tech blog publishes an inside source story describing chaos within Veltrix's engineering division. The source remains anonymous, but the details are too specific to come from anyone except Kyle. Loyalty shifts quickly when ships start sinking. After hours, trading pushes Veltrix down another 3%. At 7:41 p.m., Mason Clark, the CFO, calls, then texts, "David, whatever is happening, we can resolve this. Board is willing to discuss very favorable terms. Please call." I pour a celebratory scotch instead. Day 2 of the collapse brings the corporate vultures. Investors demand emergency. Meetings. Competitors gleefully amplify every negative news bite. 3 more significant clients announce they're reviewing their relationship with Veltrix. Laura Denton gives a disastrous interview to Tech Insider, stumbling through technical questions about the firmware issues. The clip goes viral in industry circles within hours. Kyle reports that the engineering floor has devolved into open warfare, hardware blaming software, firmware blaming product management, everyone blaming Laura. Janet emails again, subject line, "Urgent legal concerns," suggesting I'm engaging in potentially tortious interference. Jonathan reviews it and laughs. "They're grasping at straws," he says. "You haven't interfered with anything. You've simply built a better product and licensed it legally." By day 3, Bloomberg reports board-level discussions about leadership. Adjustments. The stock stabilizes temporarily, buoyed by takeover speculation. That afternoon, I finally make a public move. McRae Technologies LLC issues a small targeted press release announcing a new generation diagnostic wearable architecture being adopted by 4 technology partners. No mention of Veltrix. No direct comparisons to Pulse. Just enough information for industry insiders to connect the dots. Janet calls 6 times in the next 2 hours. I let each call go to voicemail. On day 4, Veltrix announces an organizational restructuring to better align with strategic priorities. Laura Denton's name is conspicuously absent from the leadership list. Janet Holloway will transition to an advisory role while the board searches for new leadership. Translation: the purge has begun. Mason Clark emails a formal request for urgent discussion of potential IP licensing arrangements. I finally respond with 2 words: not interested. The financial press piles on. Veltrix in freefall, inside the collapse of a wearable giant. How Veltrix lost its pulse. Corporate hubris, the Veltrix case study. Kyle texts that security is escorting Laura from the building. Engineering celebrates quietly. The corporate communications team frantically drafts damage control messaging. Too little, too late. By week's end, Veltrix's market cap has shrunk by 34%. 3 executive resignations are announced in a terse press release. Customer support is flooded with return requests. The company's carefully cultivated image of innovative brilliance lies in ruins. I watch it all from my quiet office, making occasional notes, responding to partner communications, continuing my methodical development work on Echo. The destruction I've orchestrated isn't chaotic or emotional. It's precise, surgical, inevitable. I didn't need to scream or threaten or sue. I simply built something better and let reality do the rest. 6 months after my dismissal from Veltrix, I stand at the podium of the Advanced Healthcare Technologies Conference, looking out over a packed audience. Industry leaders, developers, medical professionals, all waiting to hear about Echo. Healthcare technology isn't about novelty, I begin. No notes needed. It's about reliability, precision, and genuine impact. Echo isn't just another wearable. It's a comprehensive diagnostic architecture built from first principles. In the front row, Martin Harper nods approvingly. Beside him sit representatives from 17 healthcare systems, all early adopters. The waiting list grows daily. I click to the first slide, clean, minimalist, showing Echo's core principles. We prioritize 3 things: uncompromising accuracy, bulletproof transmission protocols, and energy efficiency that outperforms anything currently available. No flashy marketing language, no emotional connectivity buzzwords, just the substance that matters. Questions come rapid fire after the presentation. Technical, specific, challenging, exactly what I'd hoped for. I answer each one directly, no corporate evasions. Afterward, in the reception area, Kyle finds me by the coffee station. Quite a turnout, he says, looking around at the crowd of potential partners eager for introductions. Different vibe from the Veltrix product launches. Less champagne, more substance, I agree, shaking his hand. He joined McRae Technologies 4 months ago, bringing 7 key engineers with him. How's the team holding up with the deployment schedule? Focused, motivated. He grins. Amazing what people can accomplish when they're building something real. A flash of movement catches my eye. Janet Holloway, slipping into the back of the reception. Our eyes meet briefly before she looks away, disappearing into the crowd. The industry rumor mill says she's consulting now, helping troubled companies navigate transitions. I feel nothing seeing her. No anger, no satisfaction, no vindication. She's irrelevant now, part of a chapter already closed. Later that evening, alone in my hotel room, I check the industry news one last time before sleep. A small item catches my attention. Veltrix Technologies acquired by Meridian Systems in all-cash deal. Meridian, the stable, predictable company I'd turned down to join Veltrix 3 years ago. The irony isn't lost on me. The article notes that Veltrix's valuation has fallen 76% from its peak after the Pulse launch. Meridian is buying them for parts, essentially. The innovative culture that Veltrix prided itself on is now worthless. I close the browser and turn off the light, surprisingly at peace. Tomorrow brings the first major hospital deployment of Echo. Real devices helping real patients. The work that always mattered most. I didn't destroy Veltrix out of vengeance, though the satisfaction was undeniable. I did it because they chose flash over substance, appearance over impact, politics over creation. I did it because they were wrong about what matters in this industry. Now I've built something that simply makes them irrelevant, something that will outlast both their rise and their fall. In the quiet darkness, I allow myself a small smile of completion. Some victories don't need to be declared, they simply need to be lived.